I think where LSI can help others is that, I've been where they are. The technical guys know they have these issues to deal with and to resolve, but they often don't know where do I start? How do I go about this? What are some good methods for getting these projects funded and getting them resolved? And, we have that experience in our company and have been there, and we've got success at it. So a little guidance there. It does take somebody to champion it and be willing to kind of do some of the legwork, but there are definitely methods that I have seen that have shown success. In some cases, you can just do a simple hardware replacement, and you may have some technical folks on staff that can do that. And I would say years ago that was more common in companies, but what we're seeing now in current conditions is plant staff people are thinner. They don't have the bandwidth to take these things on themselves, and that's where LSI can assist. The days of a simple hardware replacement on a PLC 5 platform in particular, now it requires some engineering. There's drawings that are involved, there's a program rewrite, and so the scale of addressing obsolescence or life cycle issues is grown, and you almost always need some engineering resources to execute those. There are a few plants still that have in-house resources, and we can guide those folks on best practices and the ways that we've seen success on that. And in the cases if they don't have resources or don't have enough, LSI can supplement, or we can do it for them.
Yeah, I would definitely tell you that it's not a competency issue in most cases, right? I mean, right. There's a lot of great controls engineers out there, and I think you're right. I think it's mostly going to be a bandwidth issue for folks. And if you're going to go into a controls upgrade, it's got to be a focused effort. And I think the biggest thing that people run into is they just don't have the time. Somebody came to us and they wanted to replace a large PLC 5 system. The first thing we have to do is really look at a total system evaluation, right? What do they have in place? How many PLCs? What kind of networking infrastructure is it? Are there certain PLCs that are more critical to it? What kind of shape is the code in? Is this something that we would want to rewrite totally? Is it pretty optimized? Is it kludged and has grown together for years that way? You've got to understand what is their downtime is going to look like. How much time can they afford to be down? And you need to start with listening and fundamentally understanding first, where are they at today? And then understanding where their vision is and where do they want to go. And then if they don't have that vision, I think we have to help them create that vision. Because one of the things we run into with a lot of folks on the manufacturing side is they know what they know. And so they don't always get to see best in class. And so, we can help them create a vision of what is the world of the possible as they go forward, right? And then once we do that, for a large system like that, we would want to put a design basis document together so that they would understand, right? What is it that, we think we're all shooting at? Because it's really important that we can get buy-in from the organization.
Securing funding for, obsolete control system hardware that's at the end of its life cycle is always one of the biggest challenges. Because funding for that type of thing doesn't necessarily produce additional product. It's mostly taking away risk. And so the successes that I've seen is that you have to quantify the risk to the business, both in terms of what the current situation is providing them, how much risk do they have by not acting, and what's the impact of an unplanned downtime to the business. So what's the dollars, what's the downtime if you didn't proactively plan to replace this stuff? And so when you quantify that and you put it in terms of the business operations, that's the language that they can understand. The second piece, because usually these replacement systems are replacing something in kind. You always want to look for opportunities to improve a process. So older systems are usually controlling older processes. When you go to a current system platform, you usually have opportunity to improve the process. You can improve the quality by having better control. You can usually improve loss and waste values, sometimes energy improvements, sometimes higher yields. And so you really have to interview the customer to understand the process that it's controlling and help identify business opportunities to improve. And all these things go into a business case or an ROI that you want to present to convince the folks to fund this particular project versus something else.
Hey, Mitch, one of the things you said that really struck a chord with me was when you coupled the risk reduction of the obsolescence with the opportunity for either a safety improvement or a throughput improvement, productivity, right? So, and you're right, historically, I've found the same to be true. If I could couple a cost savings, even if my IRR wasn't as good or my return on invested capital wasn't as good, if I could get rid of obsolescence and drive the business, I always found that to be an easier sale. So I thought that point was great.
Dollars are competing with everything. So the stronger case you make and put it in terms that they understand, instead of just control system or automation engineers, we know the technical side, but you gotta provide it in a business and operations context for them to get them enrolled. Once you have those folks enrolled that make the decisions and the priorities on funding, I mean, it goes pretty smoothly after that.